Welcome to the channel, Witness for Jesus. This is Dawn. I'm going to tell you some news about my health. Now, I've not opened up publicly about it too much before. I wanted to tell you a bit of a story of what's been happening over the last couple of years for me. And then also, I'd like to tell you about a way that I hope you can help me. Now, I started this YouTube around early 2016, I think it was. And if I remember rightly, the first videos I produced were a 3-part series on do only 144,000 go to heaven. It's quite funny when I listen them back now because I sound different, and I've certainly learned a lot since I made that first video series. Now, I'm going to give my age away. A little bit of a difficult one for women, isn't it? But I'm 43 years old and I have a 10-year-old daughter, and her name is Meadow. Now, back in 2011, when Meadow was only 2, I was a single parent and I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. And back then, I had a lumpectomy and I had radiation treatment, and I was going to Manchester Christie Hospital for that. I remember that for 30 days and I was very unwell. But I made some lifestyle changes. I got through that treatment and I thought, well, I'm going to be okay now. So fast forward then to 2014. I wasn't a Christian until 2014, believe it or not. And I became a Christian then, and I met who was to be my husband at church, Martin. So I met Martin and we planned to get married in August of 2016. And we did. And it was wonderful. And I just felt, first of all, so blessed that I'd found Jesus Christ, just a complete transformation in my life. I have talked about that before, but there's so much more to say, to be honest. I've not only been a Jehovah's Witness, in between being a Jehovah's Witness and being a Christian, lots of things have happened in terms of, my spirituality and my journey. But I'd come to Jesus Christ, I'd been delivered from the kingdom of darkness, and it was dramatic and transformative in my life. And simultaneous to that, I found a small church group who really helped me, and then I found a larger church group who I still attend with, and they're just absolutely amazing, and met lots of amazing people who were just wonderful. So everything just was coming together. So in August of 2016 we got married, and a couple of months later, it was actually 3 months later, I got the diagnosis of breast cancer again. But I'd been suffering with pain in my breast, and I'd been told for a long time that it was just side effects of previous radiation and things, but it wasn't. And the cancer started to come through to the skin, and basically it formed a net through the breast, so it didn't form a lump. So even though I was checking myself all the time, I couldn't know that there was breast cancer there. Now, I had to have a mastectomy because when they did scans and things, the cancer was 8 centimetres, which is a bit bigger than a tennis ball, and it had also spread to lymph nodes under my arm. So I had a mastectomy and full lymph node clearance in December of 2016, and then I got on with other treatment as well. So it's strange to me when I look back now over the YouTube at what I was doing, kind of spiritually and on the YouTube videos at those times, because I made a video in October of that year called Did Jesus Pray to Himself? It was only about 5 minutes, and it was about, whether Jesus was praying to himself when he was praying, as some people try and assert. And then after that, I didn't make any videos until February the following year, and the reason was the mastectomy and all the things I was going through. And I was warned by the oncologist that I was a really high risk, that now the cancer had been stage 3C. And of course, stage 3C is the last stage before you would be diagnosed as stage 4. And stage 4 is terminal. So at stage 3C, the stress of knowing that was just immense. And at that time, Meadow was only 8. And I just needed to just pray and pray that I would stay alive until Meadow at least was grown up. But yet, in a statistical way, I know we're not all a statistic. Thank the Lord we're not, thank the Lord. But my chances of being alive in 5 years' time had dropped to about 20%. So in 2017, after getting over the mastectomy and everything, things seemed to be looking up a bit. You know, I made quite a lot of lifestyle changes, and I started a bit of part-time work for a Christian charity. You see, before the diagnosis in 2016, I'd worked for an IT company as a manager, but now I'd stopped work in that job because it was highly stressful and it was full-time. So due to the diagnosis, I'd stopped that job. But now I'd started working for a Christian charity, and unfortunately that was cut short. Even though I'd put work into that for about 3 or 4 months, the cancer returned on the mastectomy scar. Basically, in order to remove the cancer that had returned on the mastectomy scar area, I had to have a large skin graft from my back, and a muscle was removed from my back to my chest, and the skin graft was placed over it, and that was really, really major surgery, and I have not been the same since physically. I do have a lot of pain all the time, basically, and less use of my right arm, and it feels like there's a tight band around my chest at all times. I've had lots of physio as well, you know, things like that. Like I say, that was in 2017. Then in 2018, late in 2018, nearly a year after that big surgery, we had another big shock, and this time it was big because I just, you know, it was awful. The cancer had actually returned. So even though I'd had that major surgery and all that skin removed and everything, it returned inside my chest in 2 different areas. Now, the first surgery, they dug into my chest to get the tumours out, and then I needed another surgery because they couldn't get all the cancer out the first time. And now the cancer was grade 3. It was grade 2 before, but now it was grade 3, still stage 3C, which now meant that it was a bit more aggressive. So, you know. But weirdly enough, I had that surgery, so we're talking towards the end of last year. I did the video, the brochure review, Good News from God, around that time. I don't know, looking back, how I kind of continued, but I think actually, first of all, praise the Lord, praise God for everything that He's done in my life and how close He is to me. He's so close, so much, and He's answered so many prayers, and He's present with me in the body as well, all the Christians around me, my husband who is wonderful. Also, with the YouTube, it's up to me. It's always been up to me when I upload a video. So what'll happen is I could go a month feeling really unwell, but then, you know, I'll get a couple of days and I feel better, so I can make a video. And research that I've done before into the scriptures comes into play because I've already got research ready and things like that. And in the autumn of last year as well, we had to sell the house. Now, Martin, my husband, he works for a charity and he cares for people with severe disability, you know, people who are like blind and deaf. And I'd already had to stop work due to the cancer surgeries and the treatments and constantly being at oncology appointments and all of the things that come along with it. So we moved to a smaller house in 2018, last autumn. To be honest, it's amazing because we prayed so much about that. I was so, at the time, wondering where we were going to end up living, but it's worked out lovely. And where we live now, it is a smaller house, but it's lovely, and I'm so very grateful. And I'm appreciative because I believe strongly that that was also answer to prayer. It really, really was answer to prayer. There's been so many people praying a lot in the church, you know, that I go to, and in other churches actually locally, they pray for me through all of this and have been in touch with me through all of this, you know, through the different surgeries and things. Around that time when we'd moved and when I'd had that second surgery going into my chest, that was when I made somewhere in the middle of it, I made the video, Who Are the 144,000? And I met David England. Now, David is lovely, and I consider him a friend now. And I met David through finding out about his book, and I did the book review and interviewed him on this channel. and he's just lovely. He's still in touch with me quite a lot. And a lot of people are in touch with me either by email or on Facebook, or even talking to people on the phone or via Facebook Messenger. And it's been really amazing, really. And I'm grateful to God for every message that I get that's supportive, that's encouraging. I'm just so grateful to God, because he always gives me the encouragement just at the right time. I can feel, I'm weary, and I might have had a difficult conversation with one of Jehovah's Witnesses, or anything could have happened in my life. Of course, there's many things that happen in day-to-day life, and God, just when I'm needing that boost again, someone will send me a message and tell me how they appreciate the information, and that they've been able to help family members to leave the witnesses, or they've been able to, especially people who say that they've left the witnesses but they were still kind of mentally indoctrinated, who have been able to take that mental indoctrination away, who then could come to know Jesus Christ, who he really is, and the absolute grace of God and the love of God, that all we need is faith in him. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, getting on with the story, since early this year I've been on more intense treatment, which has been endocrine therapy. Basically, it's injections that induce early menopause. They stop estrogen in my body, and that's been really tough. It has been really tough. I've had endocrine treatment actually going back a couple of years, but this is difficult in lots of different ways. Like, I have loads and loads of emotional roller coaster days. Put it that way. Really, Martin, my husband, has been great, but bear in mind, we only got married like 2.5 years ago. And he married me, and then straight away it's just been cancer, drama, trauma, cancer treatments. So yeah, that has been quite tough. 2019, well, wow, in terms of the channel, I interviewed David Jude 3. It was a brilliant interview with him. I loved hearing his story. Then I made the video on the cross or the stake, which I think was in advance of the memorial, and then videos relating to the memorial again. And I've enjoyed speaking with Gus Astachio recently, and Brian. And of course, this all ties into the radio show. Now, of course, when I got offered to do 1 hour a week on a radio show, I thought, you're nuts, you can't do this. You just can't do this. There's too much. I do suffer some days where things are very difficult for me, and physically and in other ways to do with the treatments, etc. Plus, of course, I'm trying to do day-to-day things, including looking after myself and those types of things, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the radio show, it's just 1 hour a week, and it seemed like such a great opportunity, and I prayed about it a lot. And when I prayed about it and just put that together in my mind and thought, well, it's 1 hour a week and it gives an opportunity, I decided to do it. And I just decided to see how I would go on with that. It's not been that long, actually, so it's still something that I'm assessing. But the thing is, praise the Lord, thankfully, it's not too difficult for me to just use my voice. And people who know me might say, well, yeah, she likes the sound of her own voice, does Dawn. I'll tell you something now that's personal too. When I was a young girl, when I was a child, I used to have like a fake radio show when I was a child, and it was my radio. And back then, we're talking 1980s. Okay, so I'm talking into like a tape recorder, pressing record on a tape, and then I'm playing songs on a vinyl record player. And I had my radio show recorded on tape. And it's just so funny that now I'm doing an actual radio show. It's funny. Now, coming back to the story of my health, I'm being scanned all the time, and I'm living with the real possibility of the cancer returning again. It's recurred a number of times now, and it was more aggressive last time. So, of course, I want to be here as long as possible. I really, really do. People have said to me, and I agree, that God is in control. God is in control. And as I say, Meadow is 10 now, and she's amazing. She's such a wonderful, wonderful girl. She's so kind. She's so lovely. So I'm determined to be here for as long as possible. Now, I've made a lot of changes. Please, please don't respond by offering me advice on like what to do with supplements or diet or anything. And the reason I'm asking you that is because I've basically done nothing but that 2.5 years, however long it's been. I've been in touch with a charity in the UK called Yes to Life, and they help people with alternatives, treatments that are not available on the UK NHS. On the UK NHS, you're offered surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and you're offered some other drugs, depending on the circumstances. But for me personally, right now, the thing that is available to me is the hormone therapy and surgery, potentially, if it were to return somewhere where I could have surgery. But there are so many other treatments I can access if I access them privately and pay for them. So, for instance, there's a clinic in London that I could attend, and there's other therapies available and other medicines available to me if I pay for them. Now, the charity Yes for Life has already arranged for me to have a consultation with someone privately, and I had that. And then the result of that consultation was a bunch of recommendations of things that I should do to support myself. And Yes to Life as a charity, they run fundraisers and they regulate those fundraisers. So basically, everything is regulated, and there is a pot of money that can be like sort of Dawn's fundraiser, and it's regulated by the charity. I can link you underneath this video to my fund page. It's on Just Giving. So Just Giving is like a very popular, well-known fundraising website where everything's done. Yeah, I'm sure there's multiple different methods of donating, but my particular page is linked directly to the charity. And so what happens is they have the pot and they make sure that the money only gets spent on cancer treatments for me and one or two other bits and pieces. For instance, I want to buy a water filter, ongoing supplements including CBD oil, so that's legal cannabis oil, that costs, something like £100 a month for me to be able to have enough of it each day. I also have things like oxygen therapy that I can go and have, where you're in a pressurised oxygen container, which is charged, and you have that over sort of a space of 6 months. The consultation at the London clinic, which I want to do and haven't done yet because they offer lots of other things, is £500 for the first consultation, and follow-ups are like £250. And there's lots of other things that come into it, like paying for medication, because when it's not prescribed on the NHS, it gets paid for. I really hope you can help. I never have asked for any money, and I've never monetised any of the videos. And you look, I'm British. I don't like doing this and asking people, but a little bit emotional. I really want to be here as long as possible, and if you have a desire in your heart to donate to my fundraiser, I would very much appreciate it. I just thought I'd put this appeal out there. It's so important to me. It's so important to my family, my daughter, my new granddaughter, and all of the family. I believe what it says in 1 Peter 5. It actually says in one translation in 1 Peter 5:19 that we can trust our lives to God who created us. It says, trust your lives to the God who created you, for he will never fail you. I think that's beautiful. I believe that God helps us and wants us to also do our best to help ourselves. That's the reason for this appeal. I will, of course, keep you updated If you go on the page link below, you'll see a photograph of myself and Meadow, and you'll see there's a section there where I can provide updates as well. So it'll let me update with what's going on and how I've done, and if I go to the clinic in London, hopefully, and all of those things. So it'll keep you updated. And I just want to thank you all and pray that God blesses you all. Faith and in freedom, the wonderful, wonderful freedom of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the glory of God the Father. Thanks.